Hello, beautiful people, wherever you are. Welcome back. It's back again to the root of today. Here we are at the Fishponds here, and we are here to make sure that we are strengthening the records. We want to check if the records are going straight the way we have been planning about them to go. Because to the real conscience of me coming here today is to make sure that we are putting the boundaries. Because we have much of the people right now at the village at an extent of talking about I am a millionaire, I am whatever they think about, they want to talk about. Are going to be going to this kind of the fracture of a moment and seduce much of the people's assets and talk about, yeah, these are local fish pond. Which one do you have? Which is just a flower bed there, and you're talking about you're going to be having a fish pond? Sometimes we have a very default minds, and this kind of the conscience, I'm just throwing it back to the master KG. Whenever you want to make sure that you want to visit some people's asset and you're talking about no one should just come to your own home, don't go to people's properties. Because whenever you're just going to talk about, oh, this is a local fish pond is here, this is whatever is here, you are intruding to people's assets, and you think about now you are a millionaire, now we will not be intimidated. For the real fact of the time is I'm giving you a warning, because this is going to be no longer again coming to you. Because I'm just giving you this kind of a warning because I understand we have to pump knowledge to an empty head. That's why this kind of the scenarios do happen, because sometimes you think about you're going to be something which is maybe a demigod in the village. Whatever you want to do, you can just do it. Right now, people are aroused with the mind, and nothing should just configure it out that, oh, you might be this way, you might be this way. To the real fact of the time, I see now much of the people are interested to talk about now, I want to expand this kind of the territories. Oh, this kind of the tree is a half cut here and another part is there. How can a millionaire go and search some of the guinea fowl eggs and talk about you are just sometimes we are just not even correspondent to the real fact. So I wanted to talk about we are having this kind of the point to talk about, and also somebody's talking about the fish pond is having too much of the algae. The much of the point. That's why I always come out and tell much of the people that if you don't understand anything about the fish farm, can you shut your mouth complete? Because you wanted to know everything and you never got to know whatever Gintu had to bring and pump to your empty head. That's why I always talk about much of the people, they were given hypothalamus and medulla oblongata, but the real fact they are lacking much of the, we can call them, how can we call them? Some of essential, talk about foods or essential minerals that could just boost their brain capacity, so they can just come out and talk something which is so fantastic at this kind of the point. So what do I mean in terms of this one? So much of the people, they don't understand the real factor about why even the fish pond is created, or it's just dug in in a rectangular format. They don't understand why is every kind of the fish pond is in a rectangle format. Why they don't understand it. And much of the things they're going to be talking about, oh, let's get from Gintu. You're going to be coming to my own class so I can just teach you. You have to pay for it. So I can just tell you that why is it constructed in a rectangular way, and why is it not in a circle way or an oval or a triangle? So you have to understand it as a fact. So when you are talking about the stalling of the fish onto the fish pond, I just came out one day and talked about you want crystal clear? No. You want a crystal clear. We have to make sure that if you want crystal clear water, we should use much of the things, essential things, so the water can just be crystal clear. But you never had that kind of the money, and you're talking about you are a millionaire. Yet whenever you talk about, can we buy this one? No, there's no money by now. You know, and there's nothing going to be coming out, and in such kind of the fractures of the moment. But when we come to the real conclusion of the time, if we go direct to the real philanthropical bash of the time, and we understand how is the fish pond talk about the dug, how is the fish pond constructed, you should really come to the real knowledge where Gintu started it as a first format in terms of introduced into the real format of the fish ponds. Somebody is just coming and searching for the eggs. It's not searching for the eggs. Right now there's no content already coming from the villa, and now it's just looking helter-skelter. Where am I going to shoot this kind of the video? Is now looking all all around at the segments and looking from the bushes, talking about some guinea fowl eggs that are just available. Stupidity of the highest order. So to the real fact of the time, if you understand that the guinea fowl are going to be coming out of the compound, why can't you make a structure and so they can just keep them there? Not to talk about you want to see people's assets, because right now there's no content on the villa right now. There's nothing, because even himself, he cannot shoot much of the video because there's no content there. So he has to make sure that he's going to people's property, and whenever much of the people talk about I want to come to your area, he's talking about I want privacy. So whom's and whose asset do you want to show out? And you're talking about, yeah, this kind of the fish pond is looking, I don't know how, it's a dirty, it's a local. So which kind of the international fish pond do you have? The one I constructed in my brain, and I have this kind of the fish ponds here. I have 3 big ones. Even you, of the 3 you have, they don't even reach a quarter of this one I have here. So the real fact is sometimes behave normally, and that's why we always talk about there's nothing like now behaving like a demigod. Nobody's bothered with that one. So the real fact has to be concluded and be put in the fracture right now, because when we go to the details, much of the people want to intrude, extrude. Don't think about we can just be controlled like your wife, my friend. We can never be controlled like that one. That, oh, you know, hey babe, go this way. Oh babe, I need this tire. Oh babe, I need it now. Oh babe, I don't know this one. And you want not to control us, that, oh, I want to go to Gintu's fish pond, I want to go and check the guinea for whatever. That is just obsmisias. Those are just stupidical things that do evolve to much of the people who don't understand the real genotypic type of the nature is outside there. So if you had already selected yourself, you don't need anything and you don't want anybody at your compound. Straight fight, because whenever I'm standing at my fish pond here, I see direct into your house. So there's no way I can just come to your compound. Whenever I have another, I have a land at the other opposite side of the villa, I can see everything from A to Z. And that's the real fact. So there's this kind of a slogan where you cannot even talk about, oh, you know, I'm not a fool the way they ever think about Gintu gonna be a fool, oh, we're gonna be fooling him so they can just sell as much of the land. Nobody is interested with that one. So the real fact we have is everybody should take care of your own asset right now. And the fact of talking about I'm going to be looking for the guinea fowl, did they tell you that guinea fowl, they come to my plot so they can just come and release some eggs there? Why can't you make sure that because you're talking about a millionaire, how can a millionaire talk about you are letting your all staffs to get out of the compound and you are just strategizing yourself? So to the real fact of the time is we have to understand the real estimatives, the real understandings that some of the things should be put aside. And you should ever respect some people's asset right now. Because I saw now your goons going to be now talking about now we're going to be going to Gintu's fish pond there and loiter the way you need. And do whatever you want to do because we understand. And that's why I talked about I have some like a week only. So I just put here a very, very big fence. And that is the real fact. To make sure that this kind of the intruders, I don't know why they will just be passing. They have to pass by now. But from tomorrow but one, they'll just find that the things have just changed already. So that's the real fact I want to bring out. So guys, back to the structure. When I come to this kind of the fish ponds here, I feel califragistical because whenever the breezes are reaching unto me, I feel like we are at a very good area whereby everything is so fantastic and califragistically controlled, because what we need is a fresh air and a fresh momentum whenever we are just sitting here, because we need this kind of the nature to go. And that's why I always talk about I should venture myself onto this kind of the spot. So onto this kind of the spot, because much of the people want to be introduced into this one. So there are just 3 much of bigger fish ponds here that I have here, and they're stocked with full of fish. And right now you understand the fish pond that I constructed, calling a flying beam fish pond, that I started to introduce it onto the villa. It's now a flower garden, because it will not have anything conscience there or anything to do with much of the things that are going to be ongoing there. So the real fact is that they're now getting jealousy, and they're just talking about, oh, you know, there are much of the people supporting this kind of the people to have this kind of the fish ponds here. I created and I structurized this kind of the fish ponds here. Even he could not even develop even his own thing onto the villa. Talk about this kind of the area is talking about the villa area, the swamp area. It was naked. very naked and virgin at the same time. So when the real fact comes right now, he's talking about, oh, you know, this kind of the boys that have been supported, this kind of the fish ponds here, maybe this kind of the fish pond here, it has more years than even how he thinks about it going to be in the YouTube. I constructed this kind of the fish pond while he was just in Colombia, just urinating helter-skelter to the camera and talking about this kind of the things that are going to be happening. So the real fact is, we have to strategize ourselves. I don't think about you are the only person who have an asset, yet you are just a person who is just going to make sure that you are just rolling much of the people with liquor and tell them that I want to buy this kind of the land. That is the little fact I want to be talking about. So when we come back to this kind of the structure, so I hear about much of talk about the birds here. They are just making sure that everything is so fantastic. So I like the momentum. Hear the voices here. Wow. You can hear the voices, guys. Wow. They're again cool. Yeah, we have very special birds here, and they always have those kind of the slight sounds that do come out. Very fantastic, and everything is so fantastic here. So it's just a natural area and a very cool area, a very, very cool area. And we have a river which is flowing down there, which is making sure that this area is now looking so natural and so fantastic at the same time. So to the real effect I wanted to talk about is by now we have a very organized program that is coming out to make sure that much of the people are going to be taught about the fish farming. That is what I see right now we want to be doing, because much of the people now are hindering and hinging out the points that they don't understand, they don't know what to deal with and how to deal with such kind of the points. Because when a person is talking about, let me teach much of the people a little bit, because they want to have to know this kind of the things. So whenever this kind of the gentleman was talking about, again the birds are back. Whenever this kind of the gentleman is talking about we are having dirty fish pond or local fish ponds with too much algae, and I talked about an algae, it's a food to the fish. It's food to the fish. An algae is a balanced diet food to the fish, and that is the real fact I want to be telling much of the people, because they will not understand this structure, this kind of a structural way of fish farming. And they're talking about that a fish pond is dirty. The fish pond always should have a pale green water. Talk about the green bloom should be there. Talk about the green turbidity should be there. And much of the people are talking about, oh, you know, this kind of the water is dirty. To the real fact, that is water which is fertilized. Because we talk about you have to fertilize the pond. And the fertilization of the pond is whereby you can just use much of the fertilizers. Much of the people will just know. And it will reach one of the point where I will just teach you about the fish farming industry, how it should be, how it is, and everything is just conserved. Because even right now, the way we're just talking, there's much of the sand harvesting that is just conducted at the river here, and they're just contaminating and they're just making gully erosion to evolve. And he's talking about is a millionaire who is not conserving even in the environment. And to the real fact of the time, if you don't understand much of the things how they do come, talk about the real fantastic mode where you can just start about is if you are a dwarf in terms of fish farming, just be a dwarf. Just understand yourself that you have nothing to deal or nothing to do with the fish farming. You just understand that much of the people will be pumping knowledge onto your empty head, so they can just understand the real thing about the fish farming. Now they want to rely about the Gunmo is the one who understands the fish farming. The Gunmo is the one who was stealing much of the fishes here, and is just making sure that he's coming to look for the fish at the river, and also having some 2-3 awkward structures here talking about going to be taking care of the fish. They don't have any kind of a structural value of making sure they can just keep and rear much of the fish to their own asset. Because right now, whenever he came back, and right now, he's just crying still up to date. He doesn't know, because why can a person start talking about it? Yes, you know, sometimes you have to sympathize with this kind of the reaction. And a person is talking about Gintu is opening much of the eggs of the fish to go out. Are you really mad about it? And are you really understanding the real structure about a fish which is a tilapia fish, which I stole? Even right now, whenever you ask him which kind or which type of the fish did you install in your fish pond, he doesn't know. That's the fact. And talk about do you know how many catfish did Gintu install in your fish pond? He doesn't recognize. Do you know how many ornamental fish did Gintu install in your fish pond? Doesn't recommend. He doesn't know. Because of what? He cannot even catch even one name. And I can just tell him for free, because you're going to be watching. In your fish pond, I placed something called guramis. Guramis is part of the fish. Talk about the ornamental fish there. And I stocked there something called tilapia fish. Tilapia fish, 2 types of the tilapia fish. And you have to understand, and there's a catfish that are there. And the fact is, he doesn't understand anything. So he's coming out to tear out and to freeze out much of the stupid air to much of the horses which are not even consumed to our own philanthropical smasher. So the real fact is, if you don't understand something, can you keep quiet? Because you are just becoming too notorious and monotony about this kind of the things, how they do come. Because somebody can talk about, yes, you went to school, but you think about, you can know everything. Everything is meant, much of the things are meant for the people who are meant to that kind of the structure, or meant to such kind of the impromptu, how it should just come out. And when I want to facilitate this one, so this kind of the things that are making people not to understand, and I want to teach him for the once and for all. So they can just understand. Next time, whoever can just go there to look for the, talk about the flower bed there, should understand the real fact that a tilapia fish is called a mouth breather. And it just breathes through the mouth. And whenever it had already constructed something called the spawning time, it always have much of the sections already made aside with the boyfriend, which is the fish boyfriend, which is a male fish. And it always goes and select a very unique space. Talk about where water is low, and whenever temperature is rising in terms of the sun temperature, that kind of an area, sometimes it gets heated with water, and that kind of is going to be heated with sun, and they're going to be getting a little bit warmer. So whenever they go to such kind of a place and identify an area and construct it, it's like a boyfriend in Kenya. It's like a boyfriend wherever you are. Whenever you want to talk about, you want to go and seduce a lady, you understand that whenever the lady, so you have 2 options. Whenever you go to seduce a lady, you have to understand that this structure, how is it going to happen? Is this kind of the structure going to happen this way or that way? Because whenever you go, you'll never know, is she going to accompany you or she's going to deny? 2 options. Is she going to deny or accompany you? Or whenever she's going to be denying, she's going to leave you and you're going to be left the way you are. If she's going to be accepting your own request, it's going to be you go to a specific point and get the cherishment, or you will take her to your home so they can just cherish together. It now depends with your talk and the seducement talk about your kind of the not kind of the lady. And when you go, you should have prepared yourself, even if it's hiring a small home or a small house, talking about, hey, my friend, can you please lease me this kind of your house a little bit because it's looking so awesome. And that is what is always there to much of the people outside talk about the men. And they're talking about, hey, bro, I see that kind of a small area you have there. It's going to be so fantastic for me to use so as I can just lure this kind of the lady in the box to make sure that I'm going to be getting the honey from, I'm going to be sucking much of the honey from her. The real fact is coming out that way. Because whenever now she's going to be talking about, yes, my friend, I'm going to be giving you this kind of a home. Then you go and bring the lady to your own home and talk about, yeah, this is my small room, babe. Don't worry about the size. And the lady, she might talk about, hey, this house looks very small. Where is the rest of the house? You can talk about, no, this is where my life has reached. But it's very organized. A bed sitter is very organized. And I'm going to be, much of the ladies will not have much of the question to ask, because the thing that the lady needs is that kind of the hospitality, the love that's always coming out from you. That's what they talk about. That's what they handle. That's what they reflect and see. And whenever you talk about, yes, now we have reached the house, now babe, how do you see the environment? Is it good for you? You can just start talking about giving her some 2-3 misconduct alignment of 2-3 things of the lines here. Talking about, hey babe, how do you see the house? Is it good? How do you want me to change it there and there? And there's food here, or you can be starting with you. I start with you, and so you can just go to the other food. So you start with her food and you go to another food. That's the real fact. But now, to the real fish, it's the same. It goes and select a very good area and talk about, I want an area whereby even my baby, whenever she's going to be coming, she will not doubt this area, because whenever you have a very bad area, she's going to be talking about, this is the village you are. This is, no, I don't like the environment. I don't like how much of the people are looking at me. And that's the real fact. Do you understand it? So to the same fish, they act responsibly that way. They talk about, I want to select a very unique area where even this kind of the baby are going to be bringing, she's going to be understanding me and talking about, yes, you have tried the way I see you. And from the job opportunity and how you are, I recognize that this is the best area for you. And she can understand the real structure which is coming out. That is a fantastic mode. But when we go forward to look at another panel, let me talk about this one. Whenever now this kind of the fish goes and spots, now this kind of the fish is already having some different colors. Talk about it's going to be developing bluish color onto the head there. Talk about alongside the top of the head, or you're going to be developing a pale green in color, or some will just happen to be bright green in color. Talk about it, or the fading green. And whenever they're going to be developing such kind of the colors, they are now called the spawning time. It's when now the boy is horny. That's what is always meant. They are horny in terms of that kind of the position. So whenever they go and select a place in that kind of the spawning time, they have something called barrows. A barrow is like now a home where they're going to be going and selecting either at the section of the dikes or down at the ground floor of the fish pond. So into this kind of the fish pond, the way you see it, it can just go to the barrows. Even the way I'm just stepping here, it's called a dike. They're going to be coming and selecting a dike where the dike is, and just found something like a hole. It's called the barrows. And whenever they create those kind of the barrows, now they go and lure. So that kind of the period is called adolescence time of the fish. So whenever they come and select that this is the place that are going to be handled properly, so they come and lure the lady that, hey, you know, even the ladies, they understand. Whenever the fish already developed this kind of the fantastic colors, talk about the bluish color, the greenish color, the pale green, the dark green, such kind of the color. Some develop even reddish color and to the on top of the head here. So whenever they develop that one, so they have that kind of the stimuli. And whenever this kind of the female spots it, it understands that I am ready, and they know themselves. Even whenever you have a girlfriend, you understand this kind of the lady is now horny, so as I can just make sure that I'm harvesting the honey. That's the real fact. So you have to understand the structure, how it's always being formulated. It's the same. Animals are the same, because even human beings are animals too. So we have to understand each other into this kind of the page. So when the barrow is already created and it goes and identify itself that, hey babe, I'm the one. This is now the fish talking to the female one. That can we go and subject ourselves into whatever we needed to do, because already I want to harvest the honey. Is it ready? The day they talk about, no, I'm having cramps, I'm having this one, I'm having this one. You're going to be making sure that you're going to be putting you in a way that you should use much of the language, and she's going to be checking about how humiliative you are. How humidity do you have, and how obedience and how tolerance you will be whenever you're asking about the honeycombing. So the real fact is always coming that way. So it's the same to the fish. They're gonna be communicating in their own signs and talk about it. The fins are doing this way, and the tails are just jumping, and the head is so they understand itself, the communication, how it comes. So that is the real fact, that the fish has accepted the request that you can just now go and harvest the honey from me. So the good fact is that now it goes and identify it to the real space and talk about, babe, this is my area. How do you check this area? Or I go and look for another area. How do you check it? This kind of an area, I'm paying a lot of rent here. And this kind of an area, you know, I'm negotiating with much of the people so I can just have another house there. But I'm having some plans so I can just go to a bigger house. By now I'm staying here. Exactly. That's how you always talk about to the lady, so they can just understand that to have a plan of another area, but the real fact is she doesn't understand that kind of an barrow. Maybe it was built with a catfish, and maybe the catfish is inside waiting for that kind of the moment to reach, because we have what is called the opportunists already getting. So sometimes it's called a catfish can go and create a barrow, because they're going to be like this kind of the fish pond. You can get that a catfish is moving from this fish pond to this fish pond, or it can be from that fish pond to another, because of the dike. Maybe it can just be drilled, and it can create a barrow so they can just continue drilling, so they can just go to the other section. So you can find that that kind of an area is already spotted. Now this kind of the gentleman is coming to book or talk about leasing from a catfish that, hey bro, you know, we are from the same aquaculture, but different species and genus. So we have to make sure that we are negotiating. How can you lease me this kind of your barrow here, so I can just make sure that I'm satisfying my own satisfactory of making sure that I'm harvesting much of the honey here. So that's the fact. So whenever they go and identify the space, maybe it's not east, it has identified and it has rushed and talked about, hey babe, can we just go now? So the red is already good, and they're gonna be breeding out. Talk about the mouth breathing. It's gonna be breathing out much of the eggs, because they are mouth breathers. It doesn't have the surface area exposed at the back of the buttocks. No, it is the area is exposed to the mouth, whereby the mouth is now where the eggs would come from. But this kind of the people, they don't understand the real fantastic module about the tilapia fish. So that's why I want to pump this kind of the knowledge. Sometimes whenever we're going to be talking about begin to let the eggs of the fish to go out whenever you open the water, he has to understand the thick and the thin brain you're going to be having. I will pump much of the knowledge to his own hand, so they can just understand this kind of the qualification, how it comes. So to the real fantastic module, it comes to this kind of the point. Now it goes and talks about, now you can just mouth breathe those kind of the eggs there. It's going to be so many eggs at a time, and they're going to be coming out of the mouth. So whenever, even if you get a fish, whenever you want to fish from here, and you get a fish and press at the stomach there, it's going to be bringing out much of the eggs. And if it's a male, from the downer area, which is where the ejection is taking place, it's going to be talking about, it's going to be removing something like watery. Talk about creamy watery stuffs, and it can just jump to the far end. You understand, whenever much of, even you have some kids at home, whenever you have some kids, or you are part of the kidding during that kind of the time, whenever you're talking about, yeah, let's measure between who can just who can pee very far, and you talk about, yeah, it is this way, yeah, mine, oh, you want to shout. That's how whenever you press the bell, it's going to be removing peeing, so it's going to be jumping very high. And if you're not very keen, it's going to be even washing your face if that kind of a fish is put in your own direction. So that's the real fact. So when we go straight forward, now it comes and the lady mouth breed the eggs, and the lady is now getting aside whenever it breeds them, because they attach onto the water surface and they attach alongside. Talk about, they are creamy-like structures, and because they're going to be in a creamy-like structure, they're going to be formulated alongside the barrows that are being created. They have some of the spaces that can just attach themselves, like the frog, how the frog eggs do attach itself and to the surfaces there. So that's how it lay eggs there, and even it can just go to the down floor of the fish pond, or to the barrow where now it can just find where the soil is. Now, whenever it lays eggs, it takes some seconds when the male already goes there and surround it and start ejaculating that kind of the eggs. What do I mean? Some of this one. Whenever the ejaculation is done fantastically, now this kind of the female comes back and uptake the eggs. It's called uptaking. Uptaking is like now you have conceived already. You have gotten it. So it now uptaken to the mouth again. It's not longer, it's not that like the frog, whenever the eggs are just laid there, the female comes, the male comes and ejaculates, and goes. And at the long last, from 3 to 4 days, the eggs will start hatching. No, it's not like the tilapia. So it happens to be different in terms of the tilapia fish. So that's what I'm always coming out to tell you, that now the ejaculation, whenever it has been done already, so this kind of the eggs are uptaken again onto the mouth of this kind of the mother. And now the mother goes, it only drinks water. So during this kind of the particular time, the female will not eat food. It will only eat and it will only consume not solid substantial, talk about the commercial feeds, but it will take something called algae, because the algae can easily be diluted and it can just pass direct to the fish whenever going to be having the conceivement at this kind of the particular time. So this kind of the fish goes and it gets itself to a certain level. It just separates itself to go where the condition will be favorable for the hatching. After 2 to 3 days, the hatching should have already come out. Talk about the conceivement of the hatch should already come out, and this kind of the particular time. So what do I mean from this kind of the structure? I mean that now this kind of the babies, whenever there's a danger, now they have been already been hatched already. Talk about from the mouth, they have been hatched already from the mouth, because the mouth had the condition favorable for the hatching. Talk about the condition favorable for the hatching. Then the mother introduces those kind of the they're called fries. The first hatched, the egg, whenever it's hatched, it hatches to something called a fry. From a fry, it goes to a fingerling. From a fingerling, it goes to post-fingerling. From post-fingerling, it goes to something called a big fish. So from that kind of a section, now it has already hatched. Now we have the small fries, small ones. They look like a mosquito. They're now playing alongside where the mother is. In case of any emergency, in case of any consumption, in case of anything going to be interfering with this kind of the children, the mother goes and uptake them again into the mouth and protect them, because the mother is always around to look for the food and bring it. They talk about the ready synthesized food and brings them to where the nature is very good. That is now the fact I want to bring home. So when we reach that kind of the particular time, now you can understand the real structure of the birth system and the hatching system of the fish. So when our master KG was talking about Gintu is opening water and eggs are getting out, the fish are getting out, are you out of your mind? If you are really dwarf in terms of fish farming, understand the real structure, so you can just come out and be who you are. And to the real fantastic module, I'm going to be talking about things that are going to be coming to you live, which is one-on-one, and I'm going to be teaching you much of the things how they happen. But the real influence is let's nobody get to somebody's engagement to talk about, oh, I want to do this one, I want to do this one. You can only go to people's property, but nobody to come to your own property, which is stupidical, nonsensical, and which will not even come out whenever we want to hospitalize this kind of the issues. So to the real fact of the time, guys, I'm going to be giving you much of this kind of the recaps every time and then. Even right now, I see Master KG is now getting in. He was out with the safari vehicle and is now getting in because the guest is just here. I'm just taking everything. That's when, whenever I talk about I've seen it, it's the same way whenever I saw this kind of the people, how they packed the Pro Box there and they started coming for me whenever Lady J brought them to me. So you have to understand, whenever I spotted the vehicle, I now started sensing which kind of that kind of Pro Box is doing there, because no, Kenge talk about Master KG is no longer at this kind of the villa. So what is that kind of the Pro Box doing there? And I started sensing, whenever I could just sense again, I had found much of the people have already reached here and they had to talk about Gintu, can we go in safari rally? So I became Kipichoge Keino, so as I can just make sure that I'm rescuing my own self with an immediate effect. The real fact is we should understand each self and understand the real fact about tomorrow is another day. That is the little factor and the little more of the durable things we have to talk about, and don't accusate much of the people, allegate much of the people, because we have to understand the real statement of the time, that what made it to be this way, what made it not to go this way. So that is the real fact that we're going to be having. And to this kind of the fish farm here, I have much of the things that are going to be coming in one-on-one, and much of the people are going to be supporting Gintu. Thank you very much for your point and talking about Gintu should be supported to the risk kind of the brim point. And also we have to struggle to make it happen. That's why I always talk about tomorrow is another day. You have to make it come and recome. That is what we want to do at this kind of the point we are getting forward to. So I'm going to be getting to Nyabohanse. I want to go check Mr. Joseph a little bit to check what is really happening to him, because yesterday he never went there. I was having some 2-3 shenanigans here and there, and I want to check about what's really coming out to this kind of the fantastic model right now and understand what is coming out from this kind of the brim point. So keep it on, keep it locked. Much of the things will be coming to you live, which is one-on-one from Mr. Joseph's position there. So So guys, even I wanted about to forget a bit. I talked about one of the fish pond here. It belongs to the people. You're gonna be having a party one day, and they're gonna be talking about, they're gonna be harvesting the whole of the pond to the vulnerables, and I want them to enjoy. One fish pond is meant to them. The other two are meant for the business, because even right now, whoever can just talk about I want to fish, I can just come and fish from here, and I can just bring them or reinstall them to a position that you're gonna just need me to come and do it for you. That is the fantastic module we ever get forward. And you know guys, what made me to come out of this kind of the party is whereby much of the people introduce you into this, and whenever you are now getting much of the jobs, because I understand there's a time I went to Kisii, so I can just formulate and make sure that I'm coming out with much of the people had asked Gintu that can you go to this kind of the place and look at whatever you can just do, so I can just make sure that my fish pond is doing good. And when Master KG saw that Gintu is now getting much of the tenders outside, he started now diminishing my dream and talked about now I'm going to cut Gintu officially. And right now he's going to be visiting us again. If you need a visitation to come and check Gintu, can and talk about Gintu, I want to check on you, but not Gintu to come to you. It's you to come to Gintu and talk about Gintu, please, I want to have this and this. Nobody is stupid not to understand the real fact what's coming out. But the real fact we have is we should understand and obey people's property. If you want your property to be obeyed, don't talk about Gintu has not fenced his land, Ernesto has not fenced his land, talk about somebody else has not fenced his land. You're talking about now I can just walk because I'm a demigod in the village. So that is a way of humiliating, and some of the people will ever understand that you are doing a bad concession at the same time. So as we can just move together, so let's check how the things are going to be coming to you live, which is one-on-one. Support, like, share, comment, because much of the things are going to come to you, so you can just learn, understand, program, and re-estimate to understand that tomorrow we have another thing to do which is more specific. So from this kind of the point I talk about thank you, let's get to another point and get to the finishing point of this kind of the video. Still coming some 10 minutes here, and so to make sure that everything is so fantastic here. So this is just the beginning of making sure that we are putting our own involvement outside here, much people to understand our conditions also. Not that I'm a millionaire, you want to talk about, you can just come to Gintu's asset and destroy them. Guys, back to the G Castle here, and we're going to be configured to know what's really popping up at the G Castle. I've passed through Mr. Joseph there. He was in a luncheon a little bit in the hotel that I paid for him, and I went to check about is he going to ask for the money, because that is what I ever refused at the first time, because I talked about he should not go there for seeking for the money apart from eating. So I ever emphasized the person who is selling, and I gave the money, talk about the hotel owner, to make sure that he cannot go there and pick the money and go for the drinking. Talk about he's a liquor guy also, so he should not be in such kind of the practice. So I decided to make sure that I'm just leaving him, so I can just because he's slow, I could not wait for that kind of the period of time, and I just had to discuss about how is everything and how the things are just. He's always talk about everything is so fantastic and it's just well-being and everything is so good. So at the J Castle here, we are now coming to the conclusion of the Cobraization. We are just we have finished about the other rooms. Talk about the other rooms of the bedroom and also the kitchen here. It's already formulated very fantastic. Now the corner strips are now becoming so fantastic here. So the other bedrooms for that kind of the section is already sealed. We are just remaining with the three windows here, and talk about this kind of the door frame here. It's just remaining here. So we are in this kind of let's talk about the G Castle bedroom, master bedroom, and it's already formulated very fantastic from this kind of the windows and the doors here, and they're now formulated. So we are now he's now making sure that just completing from this kind of the panel to make sure they're going to be finishing to this kind of the part and get on to the other subsequent area. Like this one already, you can just check from this kind of the surface area exposed. You can just understand that everything is just running fantastic here. So it's now moving very fantastic, and we are just getting to the real brim point here. We have Mr. Sigan. How are you, man?
I'm very fantastic.
Everything is good?
Yeah.
So the work is continuing?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You want to finish.
Yeah.
To make sure that everything is
completed
smoothly.
Exactly. So that is the fantastic way. So to the real fantastic module, guys, I wanted to talk about the emphasis, because the last time I said about you're gonna be backfilling this kind of the road here, and right now you can even see it's a little bit backfilled until the way it could not be. So because those kind of the sticks there, those kind of the poles, they were just meant this kind of the road, but this kind of the sand, guys, it became so awkward to us because we had to offload it using the spades from the truck. It could not come and pour it down or tinch it down. We had to make sure that we are putting it out using the spades here. So that was the defect a little bit, but the road gonna be, it's too rainy even right now here. It cannot pass to this kind of the portfolio right now here. So the G castle is still undergoing, because we have now reached at a point I talked about, it's English talking, because we have to go slow after slow, slow after slow. So I want to go to the top, because I've been told that the GCO is already formulated. So we want to know the real thing about the GCO, what's really happening to the GCO, and where have we just reached in terms of the GCO welding. So let me get to the top here. Wow, exactly. So guys, to the real fantastic area, I have now reached this kind of the brim point, and I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion about this kind of the GCO. How is it formulated? How is it going to be operating? And I will just show you every kind of the assessment to understand each other at this kind of the panel of the G castle here. So let me put the stand very properly here, so you can just understand each other very, very awesome at this kind of the panel here. So which is going to be coming out very fantastic at this kind of the point here. Exactly. Wow. Here we go. So everything should be sealed here completely. So guys, yeah, this is not meant, this is not mine, made for some people here. So guys, as you can now see at this kind of the GCO, it has this kind of a very fantastic area, a zone called a chopping zone, or you can call it a working area, and it's just formulated in a best and in a better way to make sure that we can just get a fantastic way of weed cutting. So this is a timber that has been inserted here to make sure that it has a posture of slanting a little bit, but it has a very unique figure to make sure that we're going to be having a very fantastic way of handling much of the things to be cut here. So you're going to be a very organized table. Talk about you're going to be having some of some area you're going to be for tomatoes, talk about some of the onions. We can talk about much of the things going to be coming out to this kind of the GCO. So by today it's only remaining a chimney, so they can just get out of this kind of the GCO, and it's already formulated in a way that it can now work efficiently from right now. But when I open it, it's now not gluing because it has been lubricated already, and we have to get it slow until it gets at the back there. So already the grills are already arranged, and you can even see these are the grills. Already they have been arranged here, and we are just remaining with a little bit of them because it has not been fully, you can even see to the far end, it has not been fully filled here because of a little bit the materials went kaboom-netted here. So the real fact is that again you're going to be having a chain, because this kind of the GCO going to be having something to increase whenever you want. We will not even, whenever it's very hot, this kind of the grill, whenever it's going to be very hot, we cannot take it this way. So you have to make sure that you are using a pulley to make sure that it's just squeezed up from down. You're going to be coming out, so as you can just add, if you want to add some charcoal, and you can add much of the charcoal inside here. And already it has not been created, talking about a breathing space, or whenever you want to drain the ashes, it has not been put such kind of the breathing space in terms of that one. Even the chimney going to be placed alongside here, because I don't imagine about transporting it from one place to another. It's going to be stuck to the G castle. It's made for the G castle. That is, water is always coming out to this kind of the fantastic module. So much of the people were ever talking about Gintu, we should just you can just decide to make it more favorable, because whenever you're going to be roasting much of the things here, we can just enclose it and make sure that we are just enclosing it this way, and we can just leave much of the food inside here to continue simmering, and that is the fantastic way, or grilling or roasting them onto this kind of the fantastic way. So it's made in a way that the posture is so okay, and it has this kind of a handle. Talk about this kind of the handle to make sure that whenever you adjust something this way, you can just take it up and make sure that it's just going behind here. So it's gonna be, it's just about to the talk about to the tiles there, but it's gonna be coming down and aligning itself onto the Jiko. So that is the way forward here. So when everything is just conducted here, we're going to be trying our best in a well-modified time, so we can just see and target to know, is it really working efficiently, or it's just having some 2-3 shenanigans here, because everything has a testing and everything has its own time for it to work. So we can just gauge and know, is it going to be drilling, grilling, and doing everything. We have just used a D10 in terms of the grills, and I see some D10s, some D8s here, and we have some D10s to the far end, so they can just have you can just put there a bigger sufuria, because when I want to do the roasting, I have my unique character, my unique way of roasting much of the things onto this kind of the Jiko. I can just decide to make sure that I'm deep frying and roasting at the same time, and I'm shallow frying at the same time. We're using this kind of the Jiko, so I can separate it into 3. I can just use the back side to make sure that I am roasting there. Talk about I'm frying. Talk about either deep frying or shallow frying gonna be happening to this kind of the 2 corners here. But this front yard here, it's gonna be happening in terms of the grilling, which gonna be coming out very sufficient here. So even the posture is gonna not be very bad, because you're gonna be standing and doing it very efficiently, because this is the posture that we need. And also now people gonna be getting hungry from the G castle here, because whenever things gonna be coming here like the lads and something like that one, it's gonna be happening so perpendicularly per unit time. So everyone who is being locked and keep in tuned, thank you very much for you being tuned and locked in, because everything is coming out so sufficient and so elaborative. So the last things that are here are just called the clips here. They have already been painted to make sure that the rusting will not affect them mostly, because much of the people, they understand that whenever you paint such kind of the stuffs here, they're gonna be now not rusting much. So this is the efficient way of us to deal with everything that's gonna be coming to this kind of the position. I see they are of different sizes and angles, and yeah, these ones here, they are of sometimes I can talk about they are of the same way, and to make sure that everything is coming out more sufficient here. So everything is taking place here, and we're continuing the G castle construction, and we are in a slow motion right now. And anyone who wants to support, you can just support Gint to make sure that we are prospering to the real end time of this kind of the motive. So everyone is just tuned. Thank you very much for you being locked, for you being locked, and every team being tuned, so we can just group together as a team. Keep it tuned, keep it locked. Everything going to be coming to you live, which is one-on-one, and this is the respect of the last moment here, coming to you from this kind of the video. Next time, next video coming, part 3 of Mayuguno. Keep it tuned.